Hi, I'm Sean Sibley from letstalkcolorism.org.
Hi, I'm Essence, creator of Brown Skin Girls.
And today, Essence and I will be talking about The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. So, Essence, our first question is, what is something that you noticed about the book, or some things that you noticed about the book, or it's just something that was important to you?
I noticed that all of the characters, the way they felt about themselves and their self-esteem reflected what they allowed to be done to them and how they felt about themselves. If you feel ugly, you're gonna let ugly things happen to you.
Right.
Like all the stuff happening to them, and then the way they felt about themselves, it correlated with each other very strongly. I think if they had a different upbringing and the story went another way, I feel like half the things wouldn't have happened to them.
Okay, a lot of it was mindset. Okay.
Hmm.
So for me, some of the biggest things that I noticed about the book was a lot of uncomfortable moments between adults and children, such as like sexual assault, molestation, rape. Um, so we have Farida, who was touched by Mr. Henry, Pecola, who was raped twice by her father, Mr. Whitcomb, who molested young girls, and even Charlie, who felt uncomfortable seeing his grandmother's breasts when he had to sleep with her. I also noticed that children in the book didn't really have a voice. Another thing that I noticed about the book is Claudia was very resistant to like white supremacy and was not convinced that whiteness was the only thing desiring of love. Hence
Yeah.
her hatred of like, I guess, kind of like white girls and like destroying the white dolls. The last thing that I really loved and noticed about the book was the descriptive language. Um, Piccola's dialogue with herself at the end of the book and Claudia's discussion with herself about whiteness was really everything for me.
Hmm.
And lastly, I would say my favorite thing about the book was the dialogue at the end when Piccola was talking about how she had to stop going to school and how people were avoiding her because of her, blue eyes, but really it was because she was pregnant by her father. So
Hmm.
those are things that were really important to me and that I loved about the book. So, what do you think is the overall significance of The Bluest Eye, considering our reading of the novel?
Um, the most significant thing is teaching self-esteem at an early age because that's what's really gonna help your kids out and teaching them about, you know, sexuality and all of those things. Because a whole bunch of things, more than just the color of their skin, went into all the things that happened to them. They were made to feel uncomfortable about sex and their bodies and then their skin, and it all combined together and made this big monster between the molesters and then the victims of the molesters. So things just need to be taught. It's a natural part of life. Skin color, sexuality. If those things are taught and properly, instilled in your kids, instilled in people, then I think a lot of the things that happen in the book wouldn't have happened.
Mhm. Okay. So for me, the significance of the bluest eye was the perception of whiteness and beauty and how we're treated according to how beautiful we are. Piccola wanted blue eyes because she was a dark skinned girl and she was not considered beautiful by those around her, and she was not considered beautiful by herself either. And so she internalized her trauma and believed that the reason why life was so hard on her was because of her perceived lack of beauty. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. A lot of how we're treated in life is based on how society sees us and what privileges we have. So overall, I would say the significance of the bluest eye is the perceived beauty of whiteness and the treatment associated with it. And like you were saying, as far as like her being molested, the blue, like her wanting blue eyes was also connected to that too, because like you were saying, she felt that if she was more beautiful or considered more beautiful, then that would not have happened to her, because she would have been more protected. And like with whiteness, I feel that she thought there was more protection afforded to young white girls. So I definitely
Yeah.
agree with your point there. Okay,
And the thing
so
about I'm sorry to
no, no,
interrupt you,
no,
but
go
the
ahead.
thing about whiteness is like it doesn't matter about whether it happens to them or not. I think the difference between black girls and other minorities and white girls is it might happen to them, but when their men find out about it, like something is done about it. The thing
Hmm.
about black girls in our families, it's hidden, you know. Oh, well, that's my favorite uncle, that's my favorite brother, and I want him to come
Yeah,
at the cookout because his ribs are good. So not
right.
exact, you know, like they protect their victims, and I think that's the difference between victims in the white community and victims of minorities. They want to protect each other, whether right white people like they're like you're either good or you're bad, and if you're bad, we don't want to be associated with you. They kind of take out the trash. So that's my perspective on it too.
So you feel like there's less protection for younger black girls.
Yeah, younger
Oh,
black girls.
okay. All right. So our next question is, what is the relationship between colorism and the bluest eye, the book?
I think it was the anchor of the book. Like their dark skin affected them, you know, and it was more than just, you know, getting a man or wanting to be liked. It really affected them to their self esteem, the things that happened to them, and how it was reacted to. You know, I don't even know if that makes sense. Reacted to how people reacted to
Right.
it.
Yeah, I got
You
what
know,
you
they
mean.
felt like they deserved it,
Yeah.
and the significance in the book because the baby died and the garden didn't grow that summer, how they blamed it on Pecola because the garden didn't grow or anything like that. That's another thing. A lot of things are blamed on black girls. A lot of things are, you know, we carry the burden of everything. Everything's our fault. It's our job to protect ourselves. It's our jobs to do this and that. But honestly, you know, we can't do everything. There's certain things that men were put on the earth to do, and certain things that women should are put on the earth to do. And I think that, you know, them like they weren't protected. Like everything's on the woman that men should be doing. If you understand what I'm saying, you
Yeah,
know,
I understand
like
what you
they
mean.
can't protect themselves all the time. And even protection, like self control, like Charlie, who's the man who raped his daughter, he didn't have self control. You know, it's not just on the man, on the woman to protect themselves from sexual assault because you can do all the protecting you want to do and put the shorts on when a guy comes to your house, you know, stuff like that, rules that parents have, you know, it's up to the man to know, like, that's a disgusting to like a child, or she said, no, I'm not going to mess with her, you know, things
Right.
like that. Like, it affected them more than just their preferences and skin tone and will I get married, you know, it really affected their whole entire lives, even her mental health.
Right. So you feel like because of colorism, like the family just had more issues, basically. The father had more issues because they all thought they were ugly, basically. They all thought that their skin was too dark, so it just caused more issues in their family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, in my view, I think colorism relates to the bluest eye, in that Pecola was perceived as so ugly. Um, because the family is themselves thought they were ugly,
Yeah.
like because they were, a poor, darker skin family, they believed that they were ugly, so they had more ugly actions. So I would say Pecola views herself as ugly as well, and she idolizes people that represent whiteness, such as Shirley Temple. Colorism also appeared in the novel with the introduction of Maureen Pearl. Maureen was
Oh yeah.
the light-skinned girl from the well-to-do family, and she was well-liked by teachers and students alike. And one line in the story talks about how teachers felt pleasant about the child, and it was likely due to her skin tone. And we do have, real life studies that have found that teachers do prefer lighter skinned children and even initially view them as being smarter or more well behaved. So
Yeah.
the status of Marina's family, I think, also illustrates colorism because Marina's family was like well-to-do, and so in that time, especially, there was a huge income gap between what they call like mulatto people and dark-skinned Black people.
Hmm.
Another place that I saw colorism was when Piccola was being picked on by the group of boys, and they seemed to stop when came around because they didn't want to be seen in that way by a lighter skinned girl. And then after the fight with Claudia, her sister, and Piccola, Marine insults them by calling them black and ugly. So there were so many images of colorism all throughout the book. And I think like a big premises of the book was colorism. So that's my
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, it had many little different lessons, but I think colorism was the anchor of the book and how
Yeah.
you see yourself as how, yeah.
yeah, how you see yourself is kind of sometimes how your how what your outcome is.
Yeah, and the mother saw stating too, like it's really passed down. Your kids can feel that in the womb. I feel like that energy transferred to your kids, and
Right.
once they have it, it's really hard to get it out. It takes a lot of therapy and things like that to reverse that psychology that was passed down to them.
Right. It's generational, I think, too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So our next question is, what is the significance of the Bread Loves family's ugliness? Like, why were they seen as so ugly? What made them ugly?
I think the way I keep saying it, but they let the ugliness of the outside they felt manifest on the inside.
Yeah.
So their insides were ugly. They were just bad people to the outside world. They had a lot going on, you know. So yeah, they were bad people. But I feel like personally, I don't feel like how you feel about yourself and things like that. Your childhood should be passed down. For R. Kelly as example, he was molested. Bad things really happened to him, but I don't feel he should still be in jail because just because you felt like it's up to you to, it's not up to you. I don't want to be insensitive about it, but why transfer that pain to other people? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
If you can't deal with it yourself, at least, don't pass that to somebody else.
Right.
That's what everybody in the family did, from Cola's mother to herself. She passed it down to
Yeah.
her dad molesting ways and how he was sexually traumatized. He passed it down to his daughter.
Right.
Everything you feel like just because you feel it, like if you can't get help for it, if you can't deal with it, like at least don't pass it to other people. I don't want to sound insensitive when I
I
say
know
that
what you
because
mean.
some
I know what
people,
you mean.
yeah,
I
like
feel like it's
why do you
hard
have
to say.
yeah, why do you have so much anger that you want to, if anything, if that was me, I would be like, maybe I can't do it, but I don't want to do that to anybody else. Like, I would
Right.
literally restrain myself physically from doing that to anybody else because I know how I felt if that was done to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand. It's you wonder why they perpetuate like everything that happened to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that the significance of the Bread Loves ugliness, just like you were saying, they believed they were ugly because of their own internalized anti-blackness. So the Bread Loves actually acted ugly because they believed they were ugly, and a lot of their problems rested on this hatred. And I think the family's ugliness was like finally exemplified when Piccola became pregnant by her father, and then her mother beat her for becoming pregnant by her father. So I think
Yeah.
their ugliness was really internalized anti-blackness. So that's what I think it was. It was not. I mean, yes, they did. You know, a lot of why they felt they were ugly was because of their circumstances and their skin tone, and things that had happened to them. But um, most of the outside world viewed them as ugly because of how they acted. So,
Yeah.
and
Skin tone played a role in it, but
right,
it manifested, and that's what I see in people. I didn't think colorism was a. I knew about color, but I didn't experience it until the comment I left under your post. Like when I was a junior in high school, I didn't experience it. I usually go off of you know how you treat people, how you act towards me.
hmm
So I've come to understand, like, I don't excuse the behavior, but I've come to understand it. Like people darker than me or lighter than me, how they're treated and how they feel about themselves and what their parents and things like that told them. Like, that's how they come out. Like, color complexes with light skinned people thinking they're better than people darker than them. And then dark skinned people who feel, insecure about themselves. It's like, it's what that was instilled in them by
yeah,
their white parent, black parent, or the mixture of parents. Honestly, like that's you keep repeating it because everywhere in the book, it's showing up like that.
right. Everywhere in the book is a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so our last question is, what is your biggest takeaway from this book?
My biggest takeaway from the book, it's a lot. Um, this thing. Do you know who Chrissy is, the YouTuber?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, what she says about biracial children and light skinned children. Honestly, until colorism is eradicated, which probably won't happen in our lifetime, because I believe we're too like our mental state is set in stone. We would have to teach our next generation of kids. You know, we
Hmm.
already have it. Like the older you get, the harder it is to change your views. So you know
Right.
what's wrong, but just doesn't feel like that. So the next generation, you'd have to teach them better. But it's honestly for dark skinned women, it's a pick your poison world
Like,
because the biracial kids or the you see how they turn out. You see how they turn out. Like not how they turn out, but it depends on you. What you do could affect them, and what the world sees them as could, really affect them. So you have to be really careful. Each decision you make comes with cons, really big cons. So yeah, I don't know
okay.
how that correlated into the book, but it
Yeah.
just that stood out to me. I saw how the light skinned girl was acting and how
Mm,
the
yeah.
dark skinned girls were acting. And it's like no matter what you have, no matter what you do, it's like the world is gonna take them and do whatever they want to them. Undermine dark skinned women or make dark skinned women feel like trash. So it's no matter what you do, no matter what you decide, it's like very big cons that you have to be very wary of.
Yeah. So my biggest takeaway from the book is that racism can and has impacted the way that individuals feel about themselves. Living in a white society and being far away from the white beauty standard can impact how you see yourself and impact what you think you're able to achieve. My other takeaway is that concepts of pretty and ugly are extremely detrimental. It takes a lot to resist what's ingrained in our society, and some individuals are unable to do so. So that's my, synopsis of the book. The last thing I want to say is that I absolutely love this book. I can read it over and over again, and I believe
Yeah.
its commentary on racism, colorism, and anti-blackness are just as relevant today as they were when it was written.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is our. Did you have anything you want to add before we wrapped up?
Oh, I just want to say I'm happy I've met you and everybody you know. Like I've really created a family. Like I started at 0 and now I'm at 71 followers and it's like crazy.
I met
I've
you
had a whole
too.
thing.
I'm
I
glad we got to talk about this together.
yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about this together. I would like to talk more in the future. So
Yeah.
that is me and Essence's book review on The Bluest Eye. I hope you guys liked it and check it out. And
Yes.
bye.
Bye.